welcome to this week's episode of TacTalk. You've got your host, Chris Linville here, and a great friend of mine, Andrew Chavaria. Andrew, do you want to say hello to our guest?
Yeah, we got my buddy Derrick in here with us today, and I just wanted to bring on some cool guests over the next couple of weeks, and we hope that you guys are going to enjoy the guests that we have. But I also wanted to bring some different guests on, maybe not so in the squared tactical space of what we think, and really kind of talk about some different things.
Yeah, awesome. So Derrick Rage, right?
Derrick Ross.
Derrick Ross.
Derrick Ross.
Okay. Derrick Ross, not Derrick Rage. Where's Derrick Rage come from, though? I've heard this.
Okay, so back in the military, let me start off. I didn't grow up with much, right? But house music was created in Chicago back in the mid '80s, and so I heard a bunch of the house DJs on the radio.
Got it.
Always wanted to DJ, and then when I finally got on active duty, finally had some money, and I bought a cheap setup and learned, and it just kind of went from there. Man.
Okay.
So, you were DJing house music in the barracks.
Yeah,
Like legit.
That's crazy.
yeah.
So what branch were you in?
Oh, let me just add.
Derrick
Rage thing, because it shows honor to my buddy. One of my friends that got killed in combat, he gave me the nickname DJ Rage.
Okay,
right?
cool.
So I looked that up online because I was going to play some local shows up in Alaska where we served together, and it was like there was a famous hip hop DJ in Tennessee. So I was like, okay, I can't have that, but my name's Derrick Ross, Derrick Rage, kind of catchy, whatever, man.
I dig it. That's awesome, man.
So I kept that and went with it.
So did you? Was Derrick Rage ultimately your call sign all the way through the military too?
Yeah, Rage.
Nice.
Yeah, Rage.
Just straight Rage, not Derrick.
Yeah.
Cool.
My buddy Lamar J. Tucker gave me that.
That's awesome, man. Rest his soul, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome, man. And so you still DJ today with?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't do nightclubs anymore or raves, but I do just like the public workout events at the gym I work at.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, so once a month, get out, rock it out. And
that's cool.
It's a blast, man.
I thought, didn't you ask him to DJ Quinceañera?
I did. He was like, he goes, if you need like a rave style DJ, I'm it, bro. But I'm not playing the Cupid Shuffle, dog. So
no top 40.
I was like, all right, yeah. So I was like, all right, bro. Back to the drawing board. So no, it was fun. It's literally what he says. He's like, if you need a rave style DJ, I'm your guy. He said, but that stuff, I'm out. I was like, all right.
That's hilarious.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, no, you're good, bro. You're good. No, so Derrick, like myself, is an Army vet. We actually met. We've talked before about the Tex Vet Outfitters, the hunting and fishing organization that I started, and we partnered with One Tribe Outdoors. And when we were going to go and do our first hunt, we were taking Jacob Schick from One Tribe out with us. We partnered with Union Hill Whitetails, about 2 hours south of here, and Jacob calls me the day before, and he was like, "Hey, bro, my buddy Derrick is he could really benefit from just spending some time out on a hunt." And I was like, "Dope, let's bring him." And Jacob was like gonna do like the super honorable thing. Either one of us was either gonna do it. We were like, "Man, we'll just give up whatever we were gonna tag.
Yeah,
we'll give it up to him. Let him, spend some time out with us on this hunt." And when we got there, the ranch surprised us. Said, "No, everybody gets to hunt." It was really cool of them. But then Derrick threw us that curveball when we were out there, and he was like, "Can I bow hunt?" And, which was crazy because I wanted him to use the Nathan Mitchell from Mitchell Defense had just built me
carbon rifle,
that carbon 308. Yeah. And he was like, "But can I bow hunt?" And they were like, "Are you good?" And because we're knocking down some beautiful bucks out there. He's like, "Are you good?" And shit goes, I think he shoots like 100 arrows a day in his backyard. And everybody was like, "All right, you're good."
Yeah. You're fine.
You're whatever. Fine. So that was really cool. But that's how we met, and I got to hear some of his story. Combat wounded veteran. I know you can't see it on camera, but amputee. So that's where Adaptive Training Foundation comes in for you, where you work now as one of their trainers and still operate from time to time is DJ Rage.
That's awesome. So before we move on, though, for the people that haven't heard yet, talk a little bit about Texas Outfitters. And
yeah, so Tex Vet Outfitters is, you know, my biggest thing. Like for me, my therapy had always been hunting and fishing, right?
Yep.
Like that was my zen, if you will.
Sure.
But I realized all those therapeutic benefits from, I mean, not even the killing of an animal, right? Just the idea of being out in the outdoors, being back in the wilderness. It's almost
camaraderie.
Camaraderie, right? It's almost mission-like in a sense, right?
Yep.
Now, if you don't kill something, it feels like you failed mission, but you know, that's another talk, right?
You know, I don't know, man. I mean, I True Pierce with Guns America, right?
Yeah.
True is often said, and True hunts a lot. Everybody knows that's ever seen the stuff. And he says half the time, though, that he doesn't mind if he doesn't shoot anything.
Yeah, I don't.
Because really, the for him, the experience of going out and hunting is really coming away with the stories of what fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, what went wrong that we got a cool story out of, right?
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily always about that, right?
Yeah, no, the hunting trips are definitely like, my hunting trips are definitely like that. I don't care if I kill anything.
Yeah.
Fishing trips are a different story. Like I'm not coming back without at least having put one fish on the boat.
Okay.
It's not happening. Like we will stay out there all day if I don't catch a fish.
I'm out.
But you know, the Tex Vet Outfitters kind of came from that, like from my passion from hunting and fishing, and then being blessed to be invited to hunt and fish different places and with different outfits and with different guides. And I was like, man, so Kelsey, my wife, told me at one point, she goes, that's fine, but you can't turn our house into a redneck paradise. and for those of y'all that don't know, I'm red Mexican. So it's a little bit redneck, a little bit Mexican.
Yep.
So she's like, you can't turn this house into a redneck paradise, putting mountains everywhere. So I was like, man, I got a lot of veteran buddies that could benefit from this. Let me get some veteran buddies out when I get invited to do these things. Sure. So it kind of started that way, and then it led to partnerships with, we're partnered with Game Guard, which is the official Texas camo. We're partnered. Mitchell Defense builds our rifles. We have different hunting leases that have partnered with us. Different. Now we're getting into the waterfowl. Yep. We would, but you know, all of those things, right? We have Get Real Fishing Guide, who's partnered with us. Old 18 Outfitters provides our rods and reels. So it's just kind of, it was one of those things where I was just like, man, I just want to invite some veterans to go outside with me. Like, and when I think outdoors, like my mind, don't knock it, guys. Like my mind is not like going to the playground or just going on a walk or doing a 5K hike. Like when I think outdoors, I'm like, man, we're out, we're hunting, we're doing, man things. And so I was like, that's how it started, right? So reached out to Jacob Schick because one of the biggest things obviously that we want to do is provide support within the community across the board, but the hunting and fishing community. And here's the thing, right? And Derrick, you know this. I know, Chris, you know this as well, just from hanging out with me and the conversations we had. There are lots of veteran nonprofits that say they're doing things for veterans, but they're really just taking your money and not doing things for veterans.
Well, there's a lot of nonprofits in general doing that, right? Whether it be veteran causes or otherwise, right? That the vast majority of the budget is really not going toward the cause.
No, exactly. So I had some buddies at Ranchman Properties ourselves with our companies, and we were like, man, we're going to do this hunt, but we're going to put our money where our mouth is first. Before we ever launch a nonprofit, before we ever say we're doing this, we're going to put our money where our mouth is first, and we're going to take people hunting. We're going to take people fishing. Sure. And we want the evidence, the proof text to say, hey, when we say we're doing it, we're doing it. And Derrick was actually the first recipient of our big game whitetail hunt.
That's awesome. So you went bow hunting, Derrick? Yeah. Did you get one?
I did.
You did? Tell us about that. What was the hunt like?
Now, first of all, hold on. Before we go there, let me tell you, when you say he went bow hunting, like this isn't a wooden arrow with a recurve bow. And
I mean, that's all I know how to shoot when it comes to bows.
Like,
and I was probably 10 the last time I did that.
Like his bow, his bow was equally as tactical as my rifles were.
Yeah, okay.
So
my bows are the equivalent to a 308, 300 Wid Mag. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. My bow is a 308.
That's exactly right.
But so he was successful. It was a cool hunt.
So how far was the shot?
Oh, man. I think it was 36 yards, if I remember correctly. Which is perfect because that's where I zero my first pin on my side. I have a multi-pin sight. It's like, I think it's 3 pins.
Okay.
and I zero the first one at 35 yards.
Wow.
Because I've had so many times I've drawn on an animal and then they take a few steps, and then I had to learn the hard way using a single pin, and then there's nothing on the single pin post where you can just aim higher or whatever, and you can train for that, but I like to do that because then at closer shots, I want to say it at like 10 yards, I can just point, I can use that pin and it's going to hit where that pin is.
Okay.
And then in between there, I have to aim just a little bit lower. And the lowest I have to aim is just a hand lower. So, in the military, you use red dots and you have to learn your holdovers, hold under, and all that. And so it's the same thing with the bow.
Yep.
And so I do that, and I zero my sight for 35, 45, and then 55, and then in 5-yard increments out to 115 yards.
Wow. So is 115, is that a long shot with the bow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's pretty long, right?
Yeah, I made further shots like at 3D events.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a far shot for a bow.
Wow. Bow hunting is real shit. Like, that's truly hunting, stalking, got to get close, all of this, right?
Yeah.
It's truly not typical Texas hunting where we put a deer feeder out and just hope that they come and we shoot them from 200 yards, right?
Yeah, it's man stuff. That's real man stuff.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I'll do whatever the good Lord blesses me with. I will. Any hunting opportunity.
That's awesome.
Feeder, spot and stock, I'll do it because I don't get to hunt often.
Yeah.
So.
But you didn't grow up hunting, right?
No.
We talked about that earlier, right?
No.
So you grew up in Chicago, was it?
Yeah, the Chicago area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so no hunting growing up. It wasn't part of your
It's a different kind of
being
hunting
at
in
all,
Chicago.
right?
Sorry.
yeah. You're hunting something else. People-sized targets.
That's pretty true.
Yeah.
A lot of that going on over there.
Yeah. So you grew up till what age were you in Chicago?
Oh, man. I think so I left the Army at 17, so I did basic training in between junior and senior
Okay.
year. And at that time, I was a reservist. And then right after high school, I went and did my AIT, which is the job training.
Yep.
And then I came back for a few months, and I was like, man, this isn't it.
Yeah.
I need the full soldier experience. So
Okay.
I went active duty at 19, and then I want to say within the first year, I was in Iraq at 19.
Wow. And what was your MOS? What'd you?
For that deployment, I was a ammunition specialist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so I did 2 deployments. Iraq in 2008 as an ammo specialist with 24th Ordnance,
Mm-hmm.
and then Afghanistan 2011 with 73rd Engineers.
Wow, man. Wow. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for your service, man. Both of you have served and been in theater. I have not, right? And so I'm lucky to be able to train with and have and count many people in the military and soldiers and SF and so on as very close friends. But I don't have the same experience you guys do of going off to war, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was really cool, that first hunt. And a big part of what we do with TexVet is we want it to be a therapeutic experience. And so we were all sitting around campfire first night there, and Jacob was talking about, how he got combat wounded. I was talking about some of my experiences, and then Derrick talked about his. And a big part of it is like we have all the ranch managers and guides with us that night. I want them to hear the stories because they realize this isn't just something that you're doing just to do. Like, we're bought in, you're bought in, and these are real heroes. But I think the coolest part of that entire experience was, like, I turned around, I took Caden. It was his first time to go out on a big hunt with me. And I took my son, and I turn around, and he's crying.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Dad, I used to think Captain America was cool," he said, "but Mr. Derrick and Mr. Jacob, they're real heroes."
That's awesome.
And I was like, "Yeah, that was freaking cool."
Well, I think that's what people don't realize, right? And you've talked about it on War Stories, Andy, is that, we send people off to war, and most people, and we send people off to war so that others never have to experience it, right? And never get any close, and they have no understanding of what that's like. Yep. And then there's the other stance that if we don't tell these stories of what happened at war, then it's real easy for people to forget that more and more.
Yeah.
And kind of whitewashed, if you will.
Yeah. And,
right?
That's the kind of the thing, too, is like we don't talk about what we went through just to talk about it, right? We're talking about it to honor those that we came back with some injuries and came back with some bumps and bruises, but there are some of our buddies that didn't come back, right? And it's honoring them when we tell our story.
Sure.
But I just remembered our hunt was on the 23rd.
Oh yeah.
And so the hunt that we went on was the 23rd. You were wounded on August 23rd. And the connection that we had, so One Tribe Foundation used to be 22 kill.
Yep.
And back to Derrick's hunt, the deer that he got to take down with a bow, by the way, the first successful bow hunt at Union Hill Whitetails. So solid, right? And so that hunt, and it's funny though, because we're listening on the ranch like for gunshots, and we're like, man, wait, we can't hear one if Derrick's shooting.
Yeah, not at all.
Like, yeah. So we didn't know he'd taken one down, but when he took his down, and then we counted it, we were counting and scoring. He shot a 22-point buck.
That's wow.
You know, so our first veteran hunt for wounded warriors, you know, for wounded veterans was a 22-point buck.
Okay. So you can call it coincidence.
Yeah.
Some might call it God. Some might call it the universe speaking. But there's some things there. Right?
Bro, it was huge. Yeah. Like it was. Once we counted those points, it got a little emotional. I think for all of us, we were just like kind of all sat back, like we were all on our heels.
So did you mount this one?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think it should be.
They should be close to being finished.
Wow.
Usually takes like about 8 months to a year for really nice mounts.
Yeah. So we went with again, shout out to our sponsors over at Union Hill. We were going to have them Euro mounted, and Union Hill said absolutely not. And they said we will foot the bill, and they shoulder mounted all of our deers.
That's pretty cool.
So it was really cool. So we're super stoked for that. But you know, with that, like, dude, let's go back to your 3-point optic setup on this bow, because you know the show's TacTalk, right? We can talk Army stuff and war and veteran stuff all day, but I was telling Chris, I said, I don't know. And Chris goes, I don't know crap about bows. I was like, I don't know crap about bows either, but Derrick does. And I was like, bows have also become like tactical in a sense, from like, you're putting optics on them now. You're you know, it's different. It's kind of
compound bows are serious.
Yeah. It's a serious
and then everything that goes
thing.
with them, right?
And I texted Derrick, no joke. I texted him like last week, and I was like, man, I think I'm gonna try to get into some bow stuff. And you know, I was like, I really don't know if I'm gonna like it, but I want to try it. I said, you know, so what do I need to get? And he goes, yeah, here's this, and this. And he was like, I was like, cool. So he's gonna be about $1,000 to just like get into there. And I was like, oh, this is serious. Yeah. Like,
you had like 200 in mind.
I was like,
boom, 1,000.
I was like, I think my mind was like, you know, $500, $800, and he hit me with 1,000 to 1,500. I was like,
start.
Oh, these are like for real. This is like building a Glock. like I just outfitted a whole new. Like I was like, okay, now I get it.
You're
like,
committed.
Yeah, I was like, you're committed at this point.
So is the bow on the way? Optics?
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go in store, because I don't know what my draw length is. I don't know, you know, what's comfortable.
Sure.
So I want to do that in person.
Sure. There's looks like over. Have you been to Mission Ridge? Not far from here.
Yeah.
Mission Ridge. That there they have a great bow section too.
Yeah. So I'm gonna check that stuff out in person and really, because I was like, yeah, I can order a bow online, but then I'm screwed if it's not fitted to me, right? So.
Sure.
Go through that. But tell us a little bit about the skill set of bow hunting, right? Because I can line up a target on my rifle and you know, steady aim, breathe, squeeze, right? Like, but bow hunting is a whole different animal.
Oh man, that's a loaded question. So there's a lot to consider when bow hunting. Playing the wind, angles, especially if you're up in the mountains or in any terrain where there's cliff faces or hills, like steep hills especially. You got to compensate for shooting upwards and shooting downwards. You need to pay attention to how you cant your bow, especially on angles, because if you're on a slant like this, your bow will naturally go with gravity, right? So it'll start coming down, and as soon as your bow starts canting, whichever way it's canting, the arrow will naturally drift that way.
Crazy.
So you
kind of sounds like that long range class, huh?
Too much, man. Too much. I'll move and shoot close quarters all day long.
Chris took a long
Put me out to 1,000 yards, and I'm like, there is way too much math to this shit.
Yeah, Chris.
I'm out.
Chris texted me picture, like sent me a selfie, and he's like doing a long range course today. And then the next thing was not a picture. The next thing was the test. He goes, that was way too much math to pull a trigger.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, well, the reality is there's a lot of math to elevation, right? But when it comes to windage, that's an art. So no matter how you get the math right when you're shooting long range, at least, and I'm sure this is probably maybe similar to bows, but windage just becomes an art, period.
Yep.
It's pretty amazing,
No, and that's, what he was saying too. Like, with some of the hunts, like, it's a small space to really properly kill a deer. Like you can shoot it anywhere, right? But if you're shooting a
bow, you got to hit the spot.
You got to, you got to be accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The cool thing with bow hunting that I think one of the cool things that I really like is depending on the broadhead that you use and how sharp it is, like the animal might not even know it's hit. It'll there's a lot of evidence online that you can see if anyone's interested in following this, and I encourage you to do so. Like with that hunt that we did, my arrow went straight through the deer and lodged into the feeder.
There's a feeder in the backdrop, and you hear in the video, you hear think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I almost thought I didn't hit the animal, right? Because it bounded. It didn't run. It just jumped.
Wow.
Maybe 20, 30 yards, and then it kind of stopped, and it was like looking around, like, what the hell was that? Like, what's going on here? And the rest of the deer that were there, they didn't run away. They all just kind of like bounded just 10, 20 yards and then relaxed. And I didn't see blood, and then I started to see it, and then it started, like, oh shit, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And then it slowly walked into the tree line and it passed away. And there's when you use other broadheads that aren't sharpened enough, or just the way they're designed, they get stuck in the animal, and then whatever, like the blades are poking the insides of the animal, and that causes pain. So they're freaking out, and they're sprinting hundreds of yards away until they literally die. So there's definitely a method to the madness, and if you do it right, just aim where you need to aim, and you'll shoot straight through bones. Yep. You'll cut straight through them easily with the right broadhead setup.
Yeah. So like unlike yours, like I shot, I took, just missed the heart, hit a lung, and my deer went through a creek and 400 yards into the tree line. Like we had to drag him 400 yards back, but the creek was not accessible for like walking through. So we actually had to go across one of their stock ponds in a boat. So we literally drug my deer for 400 yards, had to load it onto a John boat and paddle it back across to the other side to get it onto the Can-Am.
You do what you got to do, man.
That was our hunt?
That was our hunt.
Oh, man.
Well, so like
I used a bow.
So yeah, it was our hunt, dude. That was wild.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah, that was so I hunted the day before you guys got there.
Okay.
So yeah, that was mine, dude. That was terrible.
Oh man,
it's terrible.
Sorry, bro.
So yeah. Should have used a bow.
I don't see you actually doing that anytime soon.
Yeah, me either.
No.
Mm-mm.
Stick to firepower.
Yep.
Probably.
Yeah.
Just place your shot better like he did.
Yeah.
And you want it to run in 500 yards.
Facts. Facts. To be fair, I was running a cheap optic on a very high-end rifle.
Yep.
Because I got it the day before the hunt, so it was only bore-sighted. Yeah. So
they say that, speaking of other outfitters, professional outfitters, it's not rare that the first time people have ever shot their gun is on a hunt that they hired an outfitter to do. Like they'll buy the gun, buy ammo on the way to the hunt, show up not zeroed, and let's shoot. Yep. They have no understanding of the ballistics. They haven't practiced shots. They haven't zeroed nothing.
Which is true even at Union Hill. They have a range to sight in Now they go above and beyond, right? They make sure their guides make sure your rifles are sighted in, and if they're not, they'll loan you one of theirs.
Sure.
But they have a range for you to sight your rifle in.
Right.
Because they're not going to go out there and miss a. You're paying. If you wound it, you're still paying.
Right.
You wound it, don't find it, you still paid.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
Pretty awesome.
So tell us a little bit about the Adaptive Training Foundation, because I know that's something that a lot of people really kind of maybe don't take into account when it comes to tactics, being physically fit. But I think even from the perspective of like people think sometimes too, when we come back combat wounded, you're like an invalid and like can't do anything. And, so it is. So kind of tell us a little bit about that and that journey.
All right, so my shirt says ATF, but it stands for Adaptive Training Foundation. And ATF is, not those guys, but we're the cool ATF. So, or I should say we're the badass ATF. And so
I was like, hey, don't say those words on this podcast.
Yeah, no worries. We're not those guys, okay? But basically, we take disabled people, civilian, military, first responders, doesn't matter, and we train you to a high standard. And so some people, and this is like all ages, right? We mainly deal with basically like teenagers and up. And so there's some people that come in, they just want to be strong enough to be independent at home and for their tasks that they do in their daily lives. And so, we'll train them. And then there's also people that come through that are Paralympians, dude. Like they're competing already at the highest level of their sport, whatever it is they're doing. And then we train them still,
Wow.
And so it's basically a 10-week program. 9 weeks of it is intense physical training, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. On the off days, they deal a lot with like recovery. I encourage my athletes to come to the gym 5 times a week because I'm there already anyways, Monday through Friday. And on those off days, we can, work more mobility work, recovery. Like we have a steam room, a sauna, and an ice bath at our facility. And then
this is what you're trying to get me to come do at like 6 o'clock in the morning?
No, man, no.
Like jump in an ice bath?
Well, so I run a program there right now called the Swole Lab, and that kind of just evolved over the year and over this past year. And I purposely, I set up the first hour so that, like, we all got issues, Yeah. And so, like, if you come in and whatever you're going through, like, you have a whole hour just to do ice bath, sauna, and prepare yourself. Like, you basically have a whole hour in the locker room.
Yeah.
And we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. If you don't want to talk, that's fine. You just want to, talk smack with the boys or the girls too. You can do that. Like, we're like almost, I would say 90% of the crew is all disabled combat veterans.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so we're slowly getting some civilians to come in regularly as well. And yeah, man, it's no bullshit training. Like we
Why is that important?
Important because you can spend years in the gym, and if you don't know what you're doing, or if you're not pushing the pace, like if you're not like approaching your workout with a certain level of intensity, you're kind of wasting your time. So we approach like the mental aspect, the nutritional aspect, recovery, gym, how to program, and then every single person's program is specifically designed for them and what they're doing. And so, we've had older people come in. They had a stroke, and they just want to get strong for home. So we just do things that would mimic what you would do at home, okay? And we would get you strong for that. And then I've had an older gentleman that came in, plays polo. He had a stroke, still wanted to play polo, so I had to figure out how to ride a horse, what muscles you need to use to ride a horse, right? And so he still plays polo on the horse, even though he's like really affected by that. And so I trained an artist who his hands never fully developed. And this guy's like an incredible artist, man.
Yep.
He paints portraits. Like,
wow.
It's incredible, man. And he wanted to get into boxing. So, you know, we started on getting into that. And then because he didn't have hands, he never really pulled. So I had to teach him how to pull without hands. And so we had to figure out how to use, we would use like, you know, those deadlifting wrist straps with the metal hook. We use those. We use things called active hands, where it's another version of that, except there's like a strong pad that goes over hands. We use these more for people who are like quadriplegics, and because a lot of them don't have control of their hands, so it basically like cups their hand. You wrap it around a bar or whatever you're holding, and then it goes over, velcros, and comes back around, and so you can still grip things and pull without having any grip strength.
That's
so,
cool.
We just, man, we figure it out, dude. We figure it out, and so I think we only have just a few. We have one machine that I can think of right now that's literally for adaptive athletes, and that's the Ultra G, and that's a machine where you put like a pair of compression shorts on, and it's got like a seal, and then you step into the machine, you pull it up, you zip in, you turn it on, and it basically calibrates to your weight, and then it can hold up to like 80 or 90% of your body weight. So if you're like fresh off an injury, and you're trying to relearn how to walk, you're walking in that again. Whereas without that machine, you can't walk, otherwise you're gonna like re-break your bone.
Yep.
So it's a great way to get people with any type of issue. I mean, even people that aren't disabled. If you want to start learning how to run long distance, use that machine. It just helps you carry your weight. So we basically train you to get back into the real world, and so we teach you how to adapt. We train you to like a professional athlete's level, man. It's like it's no bullshit training.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah. So let's talk about professional athletes for a second, because I think, and I saved this kind of where we at on time.
Yeah, I probably need to close up soon. Yep.
So talking about professional athletes, I saved this till the end on purpose. So Chris recently bought a Forerunner, and like the day after, completely like it wasn't the same one that he sent me pictures that he bought.
Things move fast in my world.
Yeah, it was set up as an Outlander vehicle at this point. So, and you might say, how does that tie into professional athletes? My first intro, when Jacob was telling me, hey, this is the guy I want to bring out, he sent me a YouTube video where Dak Prescott gave you an F-150. And tell us about that F-150 real quick, Chris. I think you're going to be a little bit jealous.
Okay.
This thing is outfitted like massive. Like, give us like the short version.
All right. So basically, there's all the lighting you need for off-roading.
Okay.
All around the vehicle. And thank you again, Dak, and everyone that was a part of that. Massive blessing. Thank you. There's a roof rack with spotlights on top, and then there's a metal rack in the back, and it's got like a tent, and it's super easy to set up. You unstrap two things, unzip it, and then you fold it open.
Awesome. Nice.
Right. There's lighting in the bed. The bed is lined with like this wool synthetic material. So if you get blood on it, unvelcro it, pull it out, spray it off, and put it right back in.
Sweet.
It's super rad. And he hooked me up with two really badass coolers from Pelican, and then I forget the other company, but this cooler acts as a refrigerator or a freezer.
Okay.
And it's like incredible. And then he also hooked me up with a bunch of KUIU camo and Matthews V3X33 bow.
Sweet.
Top of the line bow, top of the line arrows from Victory Archery. And man, like when they say the Lord gives you everything you need, like straight up, man.
That's it.
I got everything I needed for hunting right there. And
So cool,
Yeah.
So we're planning an overland trip.
That's
what I hear now.
That's exactly why I say that. Yep.
That's totally my new jam, right? Is like you said, setting up the Forerunner for overlanding, and then here in a few weeks, I'm going to point toward Colorado and just go. So should be a good time. We do need to seal up for today, but for those of you watching at home, thank you for spending your time with us, right? I mean, you have a lot of things to do. You're busy. Appreciate you spending time with Andy and Derrick and I today. And if I could leave you guys with anything today, it's that people like Derrick inspire me, and the fact that he's working, at Adaptive Training Foundation and so on. And this is a place that is made for people that don't quit, right? That whatever it takes, you get it done. And we live in a world today where there's a whole lot of quit, right? And there's a whole lot of people that kind of take the easy way out. And folks like Derrick that have gone out to theater and gone to war like Andy has and so on. And many of you others that have and have gone through these things, thank you for everything you've done. And thank you for coming back and teaching us lessons that whatever it takes, we're going to get it done no matter what. Andy, anything you want to leave?
And again, like Chris said, thank you for spending your time with us on TacTalk. We always appreciate it. If you need anything firearms, accessory related, check us out at vulcanarms.com. And if you need anything firearms related to put into the amazing Vulcan products that we have, go check out gunsamerica.com.
Yep. Thank you. Derrick, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yep. It's an honor to be here. I appreciate you.
Thanks very much. Have a good day, everybody.
Appreciate you, bro.